Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. In today's video, we continue Neon Genesis Evangelion The Spider's Thesis, What If Shinji Ikari Was Spider-Man, Part 8. As always, if you are new to the channel or if you're a regular and like what we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that's to come out now and in the future. As we continue on with this series, things have taken a turn, and you could say for the worse. Shinji Ikari has been stripped of his spider-like powers and abilities. In an attempt to start over his life, Shinji was preparing to leave the country when unfortunately the plane that he was on was shot down. Now left in the wake of his death, his close friends and allies now mourn their loss, but now must continue to move on as they fight against the angels. And what will the role of certain other characters be as their fates hang in the balance? And is this truly the end of the one and only Spider-Man? For all this and more, stay tuned as we now continue Neon Genesis Evangelion The Spider's Thesis, What If Shinji Ikari Was Spider-Man, Part 8. As always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Two gravestones stood together side by side. Of course, they were nothing more but tombstones. There were no bodies. But even still, they marked a grim reality. Yue Ikari, her son, Shinji Ikari. The funeral service that was held was small and brief. Not a lot of words were spoken, but none needed to be. The sky itself, it loomed a dull gray, but yet it shed no rain. Just a dry, humid air. It felt like purgatory in a sense. A sky that was not dark, but nor gave off a hopeful light. Just a dull gray that loomed in between. Of course, for those who were close to Shinji, for Misato, the news was devastating to say the least. Ultimately, she had failed. She knew she had. As a caretaker, as a provider, her job was to keep the kids safe, to look over them, and in the end, she couldn't do it. There was also a festering hatred growing towards Gendo Ikari, who even at the funeral service for his own son, stood stoic as if this were a normal occurrence. He didn't so much as seem fazed by it, although there was a hint of disappointment. Perhaps this isn't how he wanted things to end. Perhaps he wanted more for his son, but only in the way that he would have deemed beneficial to himself. In the end, Shinji's death was nothing more but a delay to his overall plans and goals, and that was the aura that everyone could feel from him. Penny, Asuka, Toji, even Rei, who normally sided with Gendo on many things, was perplexed. I mean, sure, she had her relationship with him, but her eyes were starting to become open. The way he acted towards her was not the way he acted towards the other pilots, not even towards his own son. Did he not care? Were they that disposable to him? Just cogs in the machine that could be pushed in and out and switched and turned to whatever way he saw fit. Of course, no one took this death harder than Asuka. Asuka, who surprisingly did not break down or bawl into tears. She couldn't. She didn't get this far by being weak and fragile, but even still. Why did it have to be this way? Why did it have to end like this? She thought that he could be different, that things could be different. Of course, it didn't help matters when the next day, a new boy arrived at Nerve. A boy named Kaworu. He was given Shinji's old gauntlet, and the DNA of the spider was transferred to him. He transformed, and everyone saw a new Spider-Man had been selected. From this point forward, Kaworu will be piloting Eva Unit 1. He will effectively take over that position. Of course, no one had any objections, no one said anything, although Toji was clearly distraught at this. They had only just had the service. Even if there wasn't a body to put in the ground, you effectively just buried your son, and yet you were already ready to replace him? Toji just stormed out of the room, the others following suit. All except for Asuka and Ray. I look forward to working with the both of you. Really. I've been studying a bit, and I've seen that you all are pretty talented, although I must say pretty reckless. I do hope that I can be a much better fit than Ikari ever was. If you think you can, Asuka would say. From where I stand, you don't stack up one bit. Well, it's fiery as ever, eh, Asuka? It's Langley Soryu to you. I see, Miss Soryu. And what about you, Ayanami? I take it you aren't as hostile. We are working on the same side. I have no reason to be. Of course, outside of work, I have no reason to keep talking to you. So, I'm going to be going now. A lovely bunch, eh, Ikari? They're functional. They know what to do and they know how to get the job done. Besides, if it comes down to it, you can keep them in line. Oh, I'm not worried about that at all. I just think that everything's happening a bit too hastily. You only just buried your son, and now you've already come through with his replacement. And yet you don't seem fazed by it in the least. I must say, it was a freak accident, your son's plane being shot down like that. Yes, but things happen that can't be explained. In the end, you cannot dwell on the past. No, that is true. You can only keep moving forward to the future. In the mountains of Tokyo, Japan, there was a man that lived by himself in a hut. His name was Ezekiel Sims. He had seen many things in his life, like Second Impact, the way the world was changing. He wasn't particularly a fan of it, so he decided to become a hermit. If the end of the world came, he figured better to die in his own peace and tranquility than among the hustle and bustle of normal society, who had way more worries and cares than they could afford. So you can imagine his surprise when he was going for a walk on the tracks and he saw a plane crashing not too far off. Of course, being the humanitarian that he was, he went to go and see if anyone had survived. The pilots, they had not, but there was a young man who, while faint, was still breathing. He brought the young man to his hut, wrapping his wounds and covering him in bandages, feeding him as best he could and allowing him a chance to rest. While it was slow, the boy's wounds were healing surprisingly well on their own, all things considered. As the boy slept, he found himself in an endless dream, dreaming of the past, of the present, and of an unseen future. He saw the faces of his loved ones. He questioned his own existence, how he was even still alive. Where am I? Is this heaven? No, my child. You're not in heaven. At least, not yet. I have not left you. I have never left you. But my power, he took it. What I give can never be taken away. All they could do is suppress my consciousness, my being. But I live within those whom I choose to. And you I have chosen among many. Why? Why are you helping us? You're like them. You should want our destruction. I do not. I am angered that you humans attempt to take power that does not belong to you, and you try to cultivate it and make it your own. You try to obtain the power of God, but that is not within the realm that you dwell. For that, my brothers and sisters hate you, but I do not. It is easy to hate. It is hard to forgive. But how could you ever forgive? When people wrong you, when they cross you, when they betray you over and over, it's not easy. And forgiveness is not for those whom wrong you. Forgiveness is for yourself. To live in anger and hatred, to live in those states is not natural. It is something that I wish my brothers and sisters could recognize. Their hatred towards humanity is misplaced. But it is them themselves that wish to come to your realm. Our worlds are not meant to coexist in the same plane. We have our place, and you have yours. But for so long, there are those in humanity who have tried to seep and take the power of the gods for themselves, so much so that it could not be ignored. And now the many will pay for the sins of the few. The sins of the few. Your father, Sele, they wish to enact human instrumentality to become one with us. And we are willing to grant their request at the cost of humanity's pure destruction. But in order to stop that from happening, you must be the one. But I don't have you do. My power lives on in you. Is that not why you wanted to live? You told me you did not want to die. Well, I put life and death before you. If you choose to live, then live. If you think that your journey has come to an end, then you may join me in paradise. You must make the choice yourself. Shinji laid unconscious, his body fighting back and forth, the ultimate debate within itself. As Shinji sat there, there were two beings, a red Shinji and a blue Shinji. The red one was admonishing Shinji, telling him that it was time for them to give up. The blue one persisting, telling him that now was not the time. Don't listen to him, the red Shinji would say. He only wants you to suffer even more. There's no point in you risking your life for people that don't care about you anymore. This world has chosen its fate. You don't have to suffer with the rest of them. You got betrayed. Your own father. He shot you out of the sky. He tried to kill you. Shinji, you can't let everyone else suffer any further. You have the power to stop it. It's not his responsibility, but of course it is. If it's not him, then who? Who will do it? If mankind wanted to be saved so bad, then they could have done it themselves. The fact that they've just given all of their control to Sele, that they've given everything to Nerve, they bury their heads in the sand and they pay life no mind. If that's the case, then they have no right to complain how the world ends. The two Shinjis would battle back and forth, with the original debating both sides. He agreed that each one had a point. This wasn't just at the fault of Sele or Nerve, it was all of humanity that gave their power and control to them. The fact that Nerve went around completely unchecked, that no one even tried to stop them at all, save for a select few. It was pitiful. Nerve was allowed to do whatever they wanted and got away with it. They answered to no one. They played God. But at the same time, humanity was in an act of desperation. What else could they do? Nerve, whether they wanted to admit it or not, was mankind's only hope. At least that's what it was supposed to be. But it was nothing but a facade. In the end, the choice lied with Shinji. Before long, Shinji would awaken. As he did so, he would look outside and see what was happening. Being given some binoculars, he was able to see far off in a distance. There was a battle. The Evangelions were thrown around, strewn out on all sides. Oh no. You know them? Ezekiel would ask. They're my friends. They're in trouble. You may be healed, but it's not all the way. If you try rushing there, for one, you're not going to make it in time. And even if you did, you'll just get killed. Shinji knew this and cursed himself for his weakness. But what really caught his attention was the sight of Eva Unit 1. His Eva unit going on a rampage, biting and tearing the angel apart. The angel in particular being the 14th angel, Zerul, the angel of strength. Eva Unit 1 was not in its completed state. The balance between the pilot and the host, it was mediocre at best. Two dominant wills not willing to give in to one another. This was not balance. This was just two beings fighting for control. The angel beneath its feet being ripped and torn apart. Misato and the others watching. For Ritsuko, their worst fears had been realized. The armor that was around the Evangelion was not just for its own protection. It was to keep the Evangelion under control, to keep it bound to their will. And now it had been set free. Kaji watched on from his area, watering his watermelons as he smiled. The Evangelion had finally roamed free, and this wasn't something that Sele could easily overlook. As for Gendo Ikari, as his advisors would brief him on the situation, he felt that soon the promised day would be at hand. Of course, following the battle, Kaworu would be checked into the infirmary. The boy was able to recover well enough. However, as he looked at the ceiling, he could feel it. I am sorry, Yue. I'm only doing what I'm supposed to do. I know that I am not the one of whom you wish to be joined with. But in the end, we all have our reasons for fighting. I won't fault you, but to do what I must, I will use Ava Unit 1 to accomplish my will. That much is certain. I'm thankful that I've already had my own power restored, because I already know my sister Garia rejected me. Later on into the night, Masato, as she found herself in the same place that she had always been, in the arms of her lover, Kaji. For Masato and for Kaji, this was a time of uncertainty, never knowing when each night might be your last. Two lovers embraced in one another's arms, the passions of love enthralled between them. Kaji would give to Masato what he believed to be his final legacy. He didn't know how long he had, how long before the walls would come crashing down around him. Masato, however, would chastise him for even speaking that way. She had already lost Shinji. She lost her father. She lost so much. She wouldn't let Kaji become another loss. It's going to be all right, Masato. No matter what happens, you will never lose me. Promise me then. Kaji? I promise. You will never lose me. I will always be here. As the others recovered from their battle against the angel, Asuka laid in bed. Penny had tried to talk to her, but it wasn't doing much good, and she understood why. However, when she knocked on the door and opened it and saw Asuka laying there under her covers, you really loved him, didn't you? Don't ask me that. It's okay, Asuka. It's not. I don't know what I'm supposed to do anymore. I'm not like him. All those times, all those stupid times, I tried to act like I was so superior, acting like I was so better. Truthfully, I could never beat him. Asuka, I don't care what happens to me, no matter what it takes. I'm going to see this through till the end. I'm not going to give up. I know he wouldn't give up. He never did. He didn't give up on me. So I'm not going to give up on his legacy. No matter what happens, even if I destroy myself, I will kill them all. And you're not alone. When this is all said and done, not just the angels, whoever did this to Shinji, I'm going to make them pay. The two girls were now firmly placed in their resolve. Their war was not only with the angels, but everyone and everything, anything. No matter what happened, Shinji would be avenged. They would see to that. In the meantime, however, Sele could no longer ignore what was happening around them. So much so that people were starting to be interrogated. Masato and Professor Fuyusuke among many of them. However, in the case of Fuyusuke, he would be rescued by none other than Kaji. You actually came. Well, I was in the neighborhood. You've signed your own death warrant by doing this. Yeah, I've signed a couple of those. It's only a matter of time before someone decides to come and collect. All right, Professor, let's get you out of here. Going into the evening, there was an eerie feeling in the air. No one quite knew or understood. They couldn't quite put their finger on it. It felt like death lingered, as if it were going to come, but for who, no one was quite sure of. Inside of an abandoned warehouse, Kaji finished the last of his cigarette as the door would open, just as he had put down the phone. Well, this is a surprise. Of all the people, they sent you, Sergei. It is nothing personal, Kaji. Do know, I believe you are a fine man. Noble indeed, down to the very end. I don't suppose I could get you to look the other way. Unfortunately, no. Sergei Kravenov held up his gun, pointed directly at Kaji. Have you made your peace? Kaji smiled as he raised his hands. I have no regrets. Understood. Godspeed, Kaji. This concludes Neon Genesis Evangelion, the Spire's Thesis. What if Shinji Ikari was Spider-Man, Part 8. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video as we continue Jujutsu Kaisen: The Spire's Curse. What if Miles Morales was Sukuna's vessel? Season 1, Part 8. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time. It all happened in an instant. Kaji stood there with his eyes closed. A gunshot rung. However, he did not find himself falling to the ground, nor had he been hit. As he looked, he saw Sergei, an assassin known as Kraven the Hunter, lying on the ground dead. Standing above him appeared to be a young man dressed all in black, with the insignia of a white spider etched across his chest. Now, I must say, this is a surprise. I'm assuming with the spider motif, you're probably from Nerve. Let me guess, they sent you to finish me off, and this guy beat you to the punch? Man, Sele and Nerve must really want me dead. I didn't come here to kill you, Kaji. I figure it's good to see you, Ikari. But what now? According to Sele and Nerve, we're supposed to be dead. Shinji would take a box of matches, and shortly after, a fire would illuminate from the warehouse, consuming it and destroying it. As far as I'm concerned, we are dead. I see. So, a little bit of undercover work, huh? Definitely intriguing. What exactly are you going to do now? Word is that you lost your powers, and shortly after, your plane was shot down. And for now, that's what they're going to believe. Who's your target? Sele? Nerve? I want them all gone. It's the only way. I agree with you, but I also want to save my friends. And the woman you love? Even with your power, you're going to need help. And I assume you're going to provide it. I have a couple of contacts. In fact, I have something you might want to see. You're not going to believe it. But Nerve and Sele aren't the only ones that have an angel of their own. If you want to fight against them, you're going to need it. But I have to ask you, if we do this, in all likelihood, you'll have to face him, your father. Are you ready to take him down? If it is my destiny, then so be it. I can't let his evil persist any further. If Gendo Ikari must die, he will die by my hands.